students, I'm Mrs. Divya. Welcome to the NEET sessions. So in this lecture video, I'm going to discuss certain objective questions from the chapter 2, that is biological classification. Okay, so before moving on to the questions, one thing I would make it clear, that is uh, from this chapter, that is biological classification, the weightage of this chapter for NEET exams is a maximum of 4 questions. 3 to 4 questions might be asked from this part. Okay, so sometimes the weightage it differs, that is year by year. There is but there will be no much changes generally, so at least 3 questions you can expect from this part. Okay, so as I go on solving the questions, we'll also discuss the concepts regarding pertaining to that questions. So let us begin, children. Let me start with the first question now. Who was the founder of Five Kingdom system of classification? So the options given are C. Linnaeus, that is Carolus Linnaeus, R. H. Whittaker, Aristotle, and Theo Diener. So here the answer for this question is R. H. Whittaker. Okay, so Carolus Linnaeus was the one who gave the two kingdom system of classification, where he divided all the living organisms into two kingdoms, that is Plantae and Animalia. Aristotle was the first to give or to attempt a scientific basis of classifying the organisms. Theo Diener was the one who discovered viroids. Okay, so the option is the second one, that is R. H. Whittaker. It was he who gave this five kingdom system of classification. So it is option B. Next, coming on to the next question. Aristotle classified animals into two groups on the basis of presence or absence of RBC. The group which does not have RBCs is, first option is Anaima, Inaima, Ovipara, and Vivipara. So as I told you, children, Aristotle was the first who attempted to give a more scientific basis of classifying the living organisms. So he classified all the living organisms into two groups, that is plants and animals. Okay, so among plants, he divided the plants again into smaller plants, that is the herbs, then shrubs, and then the higher tall trees. Okay, so plants were classified into three groups, that is herbs, shrubs, and trees. Whereas animals, he classified all the animals into mainly two groups, that is the ones having red blood and the animals without red blood. Okay, so the animals with red blood were called as Inaima, and the animals without red blood, they were called as Anaima. Okay, so the answer here is Anaima is the option. That is, Anaima means the animals which do not have RBCs, that is, which were not having red blood cells. Inaima is the ones which had RBCs. Whereas ovipara and vivipara, you know, ovipara is egg-laying animals, vivipara is the animals which give birth to young ones. So the answer is option A. Fine. Coming to the next question. Which one of the following is not the basis of five kingdom classification? The options given are cell structure, body organization, reproduction, reserve food material. So it was R. H. Whittaker who classified all the living organisms into five kingdoms, and he used certain criteria to classify these organisms. So the criteria on the basis of which the organisms were classified were, it was cell structure, then he used body organization as a criteria, he used mode of reproduction as a criteria, and phylogenetic relationships as a criteria for classifying the organisms. Okay, so which is the left out one? It is the reserve food material. So this was not used as a criteria. Cell structure, that is whether they are prokaryotes or eukaryotes, body organization, whether they are unicellular or multicellular, reproduction, whether they reproduce sexually or asexually. So these were the criteria which were used. So the one which was not used was the reserve food material. So it is fourth option. Next question. In Whitaker's five kingdom system of classification, eukaryotes are distributed among two kingdoms, three kingdoms, four kingdoms, all the five kingdoms. So if you go on studying all these five kingdoms, so which are the five kingdoms? Yes, Kingdom Monera, then you have Protista, then Mycota, Plantae, and Animalia, right? So go on seeing these kingdoms. Monera, what type of organisms are involved or included under kingdom Monera? So it is unicellular prokaryotes. Unicellular prokaryotes are included in kingdom Monera, right? Okay. Then Protista. Protista includes again all unicellular organisms, but they are eukaryotes in nature. Okay. So Protista includes eukaryotes. Then coming to Mycota. Mycota includes, irrespective of unicellular or multicellular, that is both unicellular and multicellular fungi. All fungi, so they are nothing but eukaryotes. All fungi are eukaryotes, whether they are unicellular or multicellular, they are included under kingdom Mycota. Plantae includes all multicellular eukaryotes. Then Animalia also includes all multicellular eukaryotes. So you can see here that only kingdom Monera consists of prokaryotes. All the other four kingdoms consist of eukaryotic organisms. So the eukaryotes are distributed among how many kingdoms? They are distributed among four kingdoms, right? So the answer is option C. Fine. So hope you have understood this. Moving to the next question. Which organisms are not included in the five kingdom system of classification? The options given are protozoans, viruses, lichens, and the last option is both B and C, that is both viruses and lichens. So here children, protozoans, they are included under kingdom Protista. So Protista consists of different groups of organisms like the chrysophytes, the dinoflagellates, euglenoids, slime molds, and the protozoans, right? Now coming to the next option, viruses and lichens. Do you find these two organisms in any of these kingdoms? No, they are not included in any of the five kingdoms. Why? Because viruses, as you have studied the characteristic features of them, they are inert or non-living. When it is present outside the host, they become metabolically active only when they are present inside the host. So because of their peculiar characteristic features, because of their peculiar structure, they don't have a cellular structure, right? They have only the genetic material which is covered by a protein coat. So because of these unique features of viruses, we cannot place them anywhere in any of the five kingdoms. So we study them separately as separate living entities. Okay. Then next one is the lichens. So what are lichens? You all know they are a symbiotic association of an alga and a fungus. So it is a organism which is having both the components, alga and fungus. So whether will you include them under kingdom Mycota or should you place them among the algae? So that is a big question. So that is why lichens are also studied separately as separate entities. So what is the answer? It has to be the fourth option, that is both B and C. They are studied separately without including them in any of these 5 kingdoms. Okay. Next question. Match the following. So you have 2 columns here. Column 1 consists of group of bacteria. The column 2 shows different shapes of them. Coccus, Bacillus, Spirillum, Vibrio. The shapes they have given: rod shaped, spherical, spiral, comma shaped. So as you all know the shapes of these different bacteria. Coccus, let us see the options, right? So coccus, they are spherical, Bacillus are rod shaped, Spirillum is spiral, Vibrium is comma shaped. So what has to be the answer? A2, B1, C3, D4. So where is the option here? It is the option 2, second one. Okay. It is the option 2, the second option. Fine. Coccus, they are spherical shaped bacteria. Bacillus are rod shaped bacteria. Spirillum, they are spiral shaped, and Vibrium, they are comma shaped. Fine. So coming to the next question. Select the incorrect statement. First one is Nostoc and Anabaena have heterocysts for nitrogen fixation. Cyanobacteria often forms blooms in polluted water bodies. Heterotrophic bacteria are more abundant in nature. The cell wall of mycoplasma are made up of chitin. So here see each of the statements. Nostoc and Anabaena have heterocysts for nitrogen fixation. Is it true? Yes. Nostoc and Anabaena are the algae, that is they belong to kingdom Monera group cyanobacteria, or they are also called as the blue-green algae. So you have studied the features of blue-green algae, right? They are filamentous algae covered by a mucilaginous sheath, and inside the mucilaginous sheath, that is in each of the filaments, they have certain specialized cells, enlarged cells present, called as the heterocysts. So these heterocysts are meant for nitrogen fixation. Okay. So it cannot be option A. It is a correct statement. What they have asked? They have asked you about incorrect statement. Next, cyanobacteria often forms blooms in polluted water bodies. So yes, cyanobacteria, as I told you, they are the planktons, phytoplanktons, which are present on the water surface. They grow abundantly and they completely cover the water bodies. So they consume much of oxygen from the water bodies, making it oxygen deficient, and also increasing the organic matter present in the water body. So that leads to pollution, or forming water blooms. When they accumulate in huge abundance, they are called as water blooms. Okay. So this is also a correct statement, so it cannot be the answer. Coming to the next one, heterotrophic bacteria are more abundant in nature. Yes, the everywhere you see in the environment, the most of the bacteria found are heterotrophic in nature. You have studied about archaebacteria, so you know they are present only in the extreme environmental conditions. Then there are certain photosynthetic bacteria also, or autotrophic bacteria, but the most of the bacteria what we find in the nature, they are heterotrophs. That is, most of them you find they are parasites present inside the host body. That is, they are most of them are pathogenic in nature. So these are also heterotrophs. Then some bacteria are saprophytic in nature, that is they help in decomposition, or they act like the scavengers. So those are also heterotrophs in nature, right? So most of the bacteria found are heterotrophs. So that is also correct statement. So these 3 cannot be the options. So like this you have to go on eliminating. the wrong answers. Okay, then you come to the last one. The cell wall of mycoplasma are made up of chitin. So is it a true statement? Chitin, where do you come across this term? Chitin is a characteristic feature of fungi. The cell wall of fungus is made up of chitin. So that is one of the unique features of fungus. What about this mycoplasma? Do they have a cell wall? No, children. Mycoplasma is a small group of moneurons, so where they lack cell wall. Okay, they are infectious agents, they are pathogenic, they lack cell wall, and another important feature of these mycoplasma is that they survive in anaerobic conditions. Okay, so what is the answer? It has to be option D. So this is how, if you see, for example, if you don't know anything about mycoplasma also, then also you can say that the fourth one is the right answer, because there, see, the first three, if you are perfect with any three of these options, if you are confident about any three options, then fourth one becomes easier for you. See, three, you know, they are actually correct statements, so obviously you will be confident that the fourth one is the answer there. Okay, this is how you have to judge the answers. You have to think logically. Fine. Coming to the next question. Mark the odd one with respect to cell wall. Halophiles, methanogens, thermoacidophiles, cyanobacteria. So here, what is the answer? Halophiles, methanogens, thermoacidophiles. These three, if you remember, what are these three? They are nothing but archaebacteria. So in archaebacteria, you can see that they have a cell wall which is different from the normal eubacteria. So archaebacteria, the cell wall of them is not made up of peptidoglycan. It is made up of some other polysaccharides. Okay. Whereas in cyanobacteria, it is a eubacteria. It belongs to the group of eubacteria. So they have a cell wall which is made up of peptidoglycan. So this is the major difference what you find between the archaebacteria and the eubacteria. In archaebacteria, the cell wall is not made up of peptidoglycan. Peptidoglycan is absent. Other polysaccharides are present. Whether in cyanobacteria, the cell wall is made up of peptidoglycan. So what is the answer here? The odd one is cyanobacteria. It has to be fourth option. Yes. So next question. The ninth question. Which is not a feature of dinoflagellates? They cause red tides. Their cell wall has stiff cellulose plates on the outer surface. They release toxins. They are mostly freshwater and non-photosynthetic. So see the first option, they cause red tides. Yes, one of the important feature of dinoflagellates you have seen, they cause water blooms, and they give the coloration of their pigments to the water bodies. So one good example here you have Goniolax. So Goniolax is the one which causes red tides in the oceanic water bodies. Then their cell wall has stiff cellulose plates on the outer surface. Yes, the cell wall here is thick, resistant, which is mainly made up of cellulosic plates. Okay, so that is also a correct statement. So this is a correct statement. So this cannot be the answer. What they have asked is not a feature of dinoflagellates, right? Then this is also correct statement. So that cannot be the option. They release toxins. Yes, they form blooms in the water bodies, and they release toxins into the water bodies, making the water polluted. So this is also a right statement. So this cannot be the option. So obviously it has to be the fourth one. So what is the fourth one? These are mostly freshwater and non-photosynthetic. So both are wrong. That is, they are not mostly freshwater. They are mostly marine forms. Most of the dinoflagellates, they are marine forms. They are the major producers in the oceans. So are they non-photosynthetic? No, they are photosynthetic in nature. They are marine forms and they are photosynthetic. They are the major producers in the oceans. Okay, so what has to be the answer? It is fourth option. Okay, then coming to the next question. 10th one. Mark the correct statement. Phycomycetes include mushrooms, bracket fungi or puffballs. The mycelium of Basidiomycetes is branched and septate. Neurospora is used extensively in biochemical and genetic work. It belongs to group Basidiomycetes. Morels and truffles are non-edible. So what has to be the answer here? See, first statement. They have given mark the correct statement, right? So what is the first statement? Phycomycetes include mushrooms, bracket fungi or puffballs. So mushroom is a characteristic feature of which group of fungi? It is Basidiomycetes. So this has to be Basidiomycetes. Okay. So this is not a correct statement. This cannot be the answer. Next one. The mycelium of Basidiomycetes is branched and septate. No, children. The mycelium of Basidiomycetes is, yes, branched and septate. Yes, this is the correct statement. The answer has to be option B. Okay. The mycelium here is septate, that is having cross walls. Fine. Okay, you have got the answer now. It is second option actually. So let us see what about the third and the fourth options also. Neurospora is used extensively in biochemical and genetic work. It belongs to group Basidiomycetes. Yes, one thing is true here, that is Neurospora is used in biochemical and genetic work. But does it belongs to group Basidiomycetes? No. It doesn't belong to group Basidiomycetes. Okay, it belongs to Ascomycetes. Then next one you have morels and truffles are non-edible in nature. No, they are edible mushrooms. Morels and truffles are edible mushrooms. So this can also not be the correct answer. So it has to be the second option. Basidiomycetes are, the mycelium is branched and septate. Okay. Next question. Haploid sexual spore produced exogenously is ascospore, basidiospore, oospore or zygospore. So they have asked you haploid sexual spores. So in fungi, you know that spores are produced both asexually as well as sexually. So let us see which are the asexual and which are the sexual spores here. So see here, all these four, ascospores, basidiospore, oospore and zygospore, all these are sexual spores. So which is produced exogenously? What do you mean by the term exogenously? Exogenously means which is produced outside the reproductive structure. Okay. So endogenously in the sense which is produced inside the reproductive structures. So in fungi, the spore bearing structures are called as sporangiophores. That is a common term used, right? So the ones which are produced inside those spore bearing structures are called endogenously. If it is produced outside the spore bearing structures, it is called exogenously. So first one, if you see the ascospores, so ascomycetes, they are known as sac fungi, right? So there you can see that sac-like structures, pocket-like structures are present, inside which you can find that there are the ascus present. These are the ascus or the asci. So inside this asci you can see small minute ascospores are produced. Okay, so it is produced endogenously. Okay, so this cannot be the answer. Next, basidiospores. Okay, next coming to basidiospores. So basidiospores are produced inside the basidiocarp. So you know the fruiting body here is called as the basidiocarp, right? So inside this basidiocarp, you can see that there are gill-like structures present here. So there you find they have the spore-bearing structures called as the basidium. This is the basidia or the basidium. So on this basidium you can find the basidiospores. 4 basidiospores are produced exogenously. Outside the basidium you can find the spores are produced. So the sexual spores, haploid sexual spores are produced exogenously, where that is it is the basidiospores which are produced exogenously. Next you have oospore and zygospore. So these oospore and zygospore both are the same. Okay, oospores are also called as the zoospores. So here both of them, they are produced inside. So they are nothing but motile spores which are produced inside the sporangiophores. Okay, so what is the answer? It has to be option B, basidiospores. Coming to the next one, cenocytic mycelium is found in deuteromycetes, phycomycetes, ascomycetes, all of these. Cenocytic mycelium means, what do you mean by this? It is nothing but the mycelium which is aseptate, that is without cross walls, is called as cenocytic. Aseptate mycelium is called as cenocytic. So when there are no cross walls, that it gives a multinucleated appearance, right? So you can say that a multinucleate aseptate hypha or mycelium is called as the cenocytic mycelium. So you have studied there are mainly 4 groups of fungi, that is phycomycetes, then ascomycetes, basidiomycetes and deuteromycetes. So remember always, out of these 4, only phycomycetes, the first one there, phycomycetes has a septate mycelium or the cenocytic mycelium. After that all the 3 are branched and septate. Remember this point. Okay, so what has to be the answer here? It is option B. Phycomycetes have cenocytic mycelium. Remember this, a septate mycelium. The next ones, that is ascomycetes, basidiomycetes, deuteromycetes, they have a septate mycelium. Okay, so it has to be option B. Coming to the next one, which is correct with respect to lichens? Mycobiont is autotrophic component, phycobiont is heterotrophic component. They are good pollution indicators. They do not grow in non-polluted areas. What they have asked, what is correct with respect to lichens? So here, what are lichens? I have already told you, that is, it is a symbiotic relationship or association of an algae and a fungus, right? So here it has 2 components actually. Lichen is having 2 components. One is the mycobiont, then the other is the phycobiont. The mycobiont is the fungal component. What is mycobiont? It is the fungal component, and the phycobiont is the algal component. So here the mycobiont, as it is the fungal component, are the fungi autotrophic in nature? No. So remember, mycobiont is not autotrophic. It has to be heterotrophic in nature. Okay, so what is the role of fungus there in this symbiotic association? Fungus grows attached to the substratum wherever they are present. So it provides anchorage, support to the algae, right? Whereas the algal component is called as the phycobiont, and you know the algae here, it might be the cyanobacteria or the blue green algae. Okay, so here This cyanobacteria are also called as the blue-green algae. So any different kinds of algae might be a component here. So you know the algae, they are autotroph. They are autotrophic in nature. So this algae, it synthesizes food and it provides nutrition to the fungus. So this is how they are mutually benefited. Okay. So both these statements are wrong. Mycobiont is a heterotrophic component, whereas phycobiont, the alga, is the autotrophic component. Next sentence is they are good pollution indicators. Yes, this is a correct statement. They are good pollution indicators because lichens always grow where there is no pollution, in pollution free areas. That is why if you go to the ghat sections, in the forest areas where there is no much vehicular disturbance, right? So where there is no much human activity, there you can find these lichens are growing. You don't find them growing here in the urban areas, right? Then fourth option is they do not grow in non-polluted areas. They do not grow in polluted areas. It has to be, right? Or you can say they grow in non-polluted areas. So this is also wrong statement. So what is the answer here? It has to be option C. That is, they are good pollution indicators. Okay. So coming to the next question. 14th one. Which of the following statement is incorrect about viruses? First option is viruses contain either RNA or DNA. Second option is viruses do not have their own metabolic system. Third is bacteriophages are usually double-stranded DNA viruses. Fourth one is TMV contains both RNA and DNA as its genetic material. So what is the answer here? Viruses contain either DNA or RNA. Yes, that is true. So it is one of the feature of virus that the genetic material can be either RNA or DNA. But the other living organisms, if you take, the genetic material is always DNA. Okay, but it is only in the viruses that even RNA can act as the genetic material. So this is a correct statement. So it cannot be the answer, right? Next, coming to the second option. Viruses do not have their own metabolic system. Yes, you know the structure of virus. They have just a genetic material which is covered by the protein coat. So they don't have their own metabolic system. There is no cellular structure. There is no nucleus, nothing. So they become active metabolically, that is only when they are present inside the host body. By using the host machinery, they multiply themselves. Okay, so this is also the correct statement. They do not have their own metabolic system. Next one, bacteriophages are usually double-stranded DNA viruses. So you know what are bacteriophages? You have studied the viruses which infect the bacteria are said to be bacteriophages. So structure of a bacteriophage, T for bacteriophage, you have studied. So there double DNA stranded DNA virus is the genetic material. Fine. So that is also the correct statement. So all these three are correct statements. So the fourth option has to be the correct option. TMV contains both RNA and DNA as its genetic material. What is TMV? Tobacco mosaic virus. So you have seen the structure of this tobacco mosaic virus, right? So here in the tobacco mosaic virus, it consists of the protein coat called as the capsid. Then the genetic material is present here, which is nothing but single-stranded RNA is the genetic material. Single-stranded RNA. So what is the answer? The answer has to be option D. They have asked which is the incorrect statement. So TMV contains only single-stranded RNA as a genetic material, not both. Okay, so it has to be option D. So coming to the next question. 15th one. Primitive bacteria living in salty areas are called as methanogens, thermoacidophiles, heliophytes, halophiles. So go on seeing the options here. What are methanogens? Methanogens are the group of archaebacteria which are present in the gut of ruminant animals like the cattle, right? So they are said to be methanogens because they produce methane gas. So the first option is wrong. Then thermoacidophiles are the archaebacteria which are present in high temperatures, extreme temperatures, or in high acidic conditions. So even that option is wrong. Heliophytes. So always remember, phyta means plants. So no connection with the bacteria here. Heliophytes are the plants which grow in high light intensity. They can also be called as sun loving plants. Okay, so they grow where there is much of solar energy or there is high light intensity, high solar light. So those are the heliophytes. Next, halophiles. So halophiles are the archaebacteria which grow in salty conditions. So it has to be option D. Okay. So coming to the next question. 16th one. Which one of the following is an incorrect pair? Louis Pasteur coined the term virus. Vigering gave the statement Contagium vivum fluidum. Ivanovsky discovered retroviruses, or Stanley crystallized TMV. So see the first pair, Louis Pasteur. Yes, it was Louis Pasteur who coined the term virus. Okay, so that is the correct statement. Next, Vigering connected with Contagium vivum fluidum. So what is this? It was Vigering who extracted the fluid from the tobacco mosaic leaf, right? Diseased leaf. So that extract, whatever he got, he injected it into a healthy leaf, and he could find that that healthy leaf was also infected. So that fluid, whatever extract he got, he called it to be as Contagium vivum fluidum. That means contagious fluid, liquid. Okay, so that is also the correct statement. It was Vigering who extracted that fluid. Next, Ivanovsky discovered retrovirus. No, it was not Ivanovsky who discovered retroviruses. Then what did Ivanovsky do actually? So it was Ivanovsky who actually discovered the viruses when he was studying the tobacco mosaic plant. Okay, that is, he was studying the disease, mosaic disease in the tobacco plant, right? So retrovirus was discovered by another scientist known as Baltimore. Okay, so it was not Ivanovsky. So this is the correct answer. This is a wrong pair. Ivanovsky is not the one who discovered retrovirus. Next, Stanley crystallized TMV. Yes, it was Stanley who obtained TMV, that is the viruses. He said that the viruses could be crystallized. So they remain in inert state when they are present outside the host body. Okay, so the answer is option C. Next, coming to the next one. 17th question. In plants, mosaic formation, leaf rolling and curling, yellowing of plant parts, vein clearing, dwarfing and stunted growth, necrosis, etc. are the symptoms of bacterial diseases, mycoplasmal diseases, viral diseases, fungal diseases. So, mosaic, as you get the term mosaic, that has to come to your mind that it is related with viruses, because it is the viruses which cause mosaic disease. For example, you have studied TMV, it is tobacco mosaic disease, right? So mosaic disease, mainly it is caused by viruses. Mosaic disease in the sense the leaves, they get patches, yellowish or greenish patches can be seen on the leaves, just like the mosaic flooring. Okay, then the other symptoms, they are all because of viral infection. So the answer here, it is viral diseases. Next question, 18th one. Which is the incorrect statement regarding fungi? Wheat rust causing agent is Puccinia. Penicillium is a source of antibiotic. The cell wall of fungi are composed of peptidoglycan. The fungi prefer to grow in warm and humid places. See the options. Wheat rust causing agent is Puccinia. Yes, Puccinia is a fungus, okay, so which causes a disease in the wheat plants called as the wheat rust disease, right? So yellowish or black rust can be rust like formation can be seen on the grains, right? Next one, penicillium is a source of antibiotic. So what is penicillium? Penicillium is a fungus which belongs to the group Ascomycetes. So penicillium is used to extract penicillin, right? So the penicillin was the first antibiotic which was discovered. So that is also a correct statement. Next one, you see the cell wall of fungi are composed of peptidoglycan. So here, so always remember the feature of fungus is the cell wall here is made up of chitin, not peptidoglycan. Similarly, the important feature of the bacterial cell wall is that they are made up of peptidoglycan. Okay. Next one. Fungi prefer to grow in warm and humid places. Yes, fungi they grow in warm and humid places. So that is a correct statement. They grow in warm, humid places, moist conditions or shady areas, right? As well as they are parasitic, causing infections. They are pathogenic in nature, or they grow on dead, decayed matter. That is, they are saprophytic in nature. So it has to be option C. Next one. Select the incorrect match. They have given different groups of fungi with examples. Phycomycetes albigo, Basidiomycetes claviceps, Ascomycetes penicillium, Deuteromycetes trichoderma. So here Phycomycetes albigo. So albigo candida. So here albigo candida, it doesn't belong to the group Phycomycetes. Okay, it is belonging to the group Ascomycetes. So the first one itself is the wrong answer. The other ones, it is the correct. Claviceps belongs to Basidiomycetes. Penicillium is an Ascomycete. Trichoderma is a Deuteromycete. So claviceps here, it is as I told you, it belongs to Basidiomycetes. Okay, so that is used for as a it is used to extract an LSD, a lysergic acid dimethylamide, which is used as a drug. Okay, then penicillium, it is used, to extract the antibiotic penicillin. Then trichoderma, it causes infections. That is, it belongs to Deuteromycetes. Next question. The 20th question here. Identify A, B and C in the given diagrams. So here they have given different options. So see the figures, children, here. I think C1 is very easy to identify. It's a mushroom. So the commonly found mushroom is Agaricus. So C has to be Agaricus. So see here, wherever C is Agaricus. So you can see in the first option, the C is Agaricus, right? So immediately you have to get that. See, if you are confident with one here, the others you can easily answer. C is Agaricus, so no doubt it has to be the first option. B you take, B is Aspergillus, then A is Mucor. Okay, so it is the first option. Fine. Okay, so here we have solved 20 questions in this lecture video. So these were the first level of questions, so almost which are present in your NCERT textbook. Okay, so always don't go for the very difficult questions initially itself. first try to cover up whatever is present in your NCERT textbook, become thorough with the concepts there in the NCERT book. Then level wise, step wise, you have to go always. First easy level, medium, and then go for difficult level. Fine. So here we have solved the level 1 questions. So in the next module, children, I'll discuss some more questions, some different from these questions. That is, the questions might be in the from the NCERT itself or something extra, but they may be asked. These were almost the direct questions, right? So we'll see some more questions in which might be asked logically or in a twisted manner, so which appear to be difficult. Okay, and also we'll solve the some questions from the previous year NEET question papers. Okay, so hope you have followed or understood the questions here. So the concept also has to be at least 50% of it should be thorough here by solving these questions. So we'll continue in the next module. Thank you very much.